Before Mandela Catalogue, before Gemini Home Entertainment, there was something already creeping through the static. Broadcasts that felt wrong, emergency alerts that didn't make sense, instructional videos that looked like they were never meant to be seen. This is where analog horror was born. In distorted VHS tapes, corrupted airwaves, and stories told through flickering screens. In this video, we're going back to the beginning, to uncover the classic analog horror videos that defined the genre, the ones that made us afraid of our TVs again.
I don't know why the f we're doing this. Me and Ollie have got work at 8 in the morning, but we're driving about in his car because we're absolute twats.
Does that light make a difference?
Have you seen that on Mock the Week? Famous last words.
Starting off, let's talk about a lesser known but incredibly important piece of analog horror history, No Through Road, a short film from 2009 that feels like the missing link between found footage and analog horror. The premise is deceptively simple. 4 teenagers are driving around the English countryside at night. They're messing around, filming themselves in the car, doing what teenagers do. The energy is casual, harmless, you'd think nothing of it, until they take a turn down a narrow, unmarked road. A sign reads, "No Through Road." At first, it seems like just another dead end. They reverse, turn around, and start driving again, only to pass the same sign, again. No matter which direction they go, they always end up back at the same spot. Time starts looping. The surroundings look the same, but the tension builds. The conversations become strained. The camera picks up small changes, subtle, but enough to tell you something isn't right. And then they realize they're not alone.
Turn the bloody lights on! What? What are you doing?
Out in the darkness, something starts following them. We never get a clear look at what it is, which only makes it worse. It's the fear of the unseen, the unknown closing in from the shadows. What makes No Through Road so effective is its realism. There's no music, no digital distortion, no dramatic cuts. It's raw footage, like something you'd find on a forgotten tape in someone's attic. The grainy visuals, the awkward silence between friends, the occasional nervous laughter, it all feels real. By the end, you're left with more questions than answers. And that's the genius of it. It's horror built from disorientation and helplessness, 2 of the most primal fears there are. No Through Road has since inspired multiple sequels and even parts of modern analog horror storytelling. It's an early example of what happens when found footage horror overlaps with analog aesthetics, and it still holds up more than a decade later.
Oh no! Laughing stock. That's one whale of a storm.
On to the next, and this one is soaked in nostalgia, but not in the comforting kind. Let's talk about Mr. Bear's Cellar, one of the darkest stories connected to the legendary Cove mythos. Originally created by Chris Straub.
Hello, children. It's been such a long time since we spent time together in the cellar, and I'm so glad to finally be back.
For those unfamiliar, Cove is a fictional children's show remembered by a handful of adults who believe they saw it in the early 70s. The show featured puppets, eerie static, and a general sense of something being off. But the deeper you dig, the more disturbing it gets. Mr. Bear's Cellar is a spin-off tale told from the perspective of someone who remembers watching a local Canadian TV station as a child in 1971. The station aired a show called Mr. Bear's Cellar, which seemed like your average low-budget kids show at first, until children started going missing. The narrator recalls episodes where Mr. Bear, a man in a poorly made bear costume, would invite children down into his cellar. The catch? That cellar was real. Police would eventually find it, and what they discovered turned a local urban legend into a true crime investigation. Inside the actual cellar, officers found disturbing evidence that linked the man behind the costume to a series of child abductions. What was once a creepy puppet show became the centerpiece of a local tragedy. What makes Mr. Bear's cellar stand out is how it feels like a recovered memory, like something you saw once as a kid, but no one else believes existed, that eerie déjà vu. That static between your childhood and your nightmares. It blends perfectly with the analog horror aesthetic. Grainy footage, unsettling puppetry, smiling faces hiding something darker.
Singing away by the tree that weeps with me.
On to the next, and now we're diving into one of the most well-known faces of modern analog horror, the Walten Files. If you've ever watched a training video and felt uneasy without really knowing why, this series will push that feeling straight into nightmare territory.
Replacing all of our animatronic characters with 4 new ones, which use much safer technology than the ones we previously used.
The segment known as Company PSA is a standout. It pretends to be a cheerful public service announcement from a family-friendly animatronic company called Bunny Smiles Incorporated, but it quickly devolves into something a lot darker. What starts as a bubbly corporate introduction, filled with bright colors and upbeat music, slowly unravels into glitching screens, broken characters, and deeply unsettling imagery. You realize something is wrong, not just technically, but morally. The video is trying to smile through a buried truth. Something horrible happened at this company, and it's leaking through the tape. Company PSA isn't just spooky for the sake of being spooky. It's carefully crafted analog horror that plays on our fear of what's not being said. Every cheerful voiceover, every slide of training footage hides something just under the surface: missing people, corrupted AI, and trauma preserved on videotape. One of the most effective moments comes when the tape starts to glitch, and smiling mascots give way to cold, emotionless warnings.
The following message is a child abduction alert, also known as an Amber Alert, that is transmitted to all of the citizens and employees in Fazbear Entertainment. Yesterday at 3:55 p.m. a mysterious incident happened at Freddy Fazbear Jr. is involved with 2 missing children that were known to be around 6 years old at the time they went missing, along with an unknown suspect in a spring Bonnie costume back in 1983 as to be known as the abductor of luring children into a private room. This broadcast will be quiet at its time for your safety. Continue to carry out the following instructions.
That's what makes the Walten Files, and this PSA in particular, so haunting. It's like you're unearthing something the world was meant to forget. Think Five Nights at Freddy's meets Local 58, but with its own twisted lore and characters you almost feel sorry for, even when they're staring at you with wide, unblinking eyes. On to the last, and this one's a strange trip into forgotten television. This is Eventide Media Center, one of the most quietly disturbing analog horror projects hiding on YouTube. Eventide presents itself as a local access media archive from a mysterious town called Eventide. The series is designed like a TV station's internal broadcast network, full of promos, interludes, and public service announcements, but something's off. Way off. The color is faded, the logos don't look quite right, characters speak in distorted tones, and sometimes they speak directly to you. Eventide plays with themes of surveillance, conformity, and psychological control. There are moments where time seems to reset, where people vanish mid-broadcast. A repeating figure, only known as the Monitor, appears in several clips. His face is blurred. His presence is constant. Some fans have speculated the town of Eventide exists in a pocket dimension, an alternate reality locked in a broadcast loop where the residents are aware they're being watched, but can't escape. Others believe it's a metaphor for media brainwashing, using retro aesthetics to comment on the way authority and technology shape our minds. Unlike some analog horror that relies on jump scares, Eventide Media Center builds dread through repetition. The same phrases, the same faces, the same music, looped again and again until something finally breaks. And when it does, it's subtle. You might not even notice it the first time, but suddenly a familiar commercial has changed. A character is crying. A logo glitches into something sinister. It rewards close watching, and it punishes those who dig too deep. Let me know your favorite theory about what's really going on behind these broadcasts.
If you've made it this far, congratulations. That means the signal hasn't reached you. Not fully. But don't get too comfortable. The things we've seen, the static, the faces, the messages, they're more than stories. They're warnings. If something on your screen starts to feel wrong, if a familiar logo glitches, if you start hearing your name in the white noise, don't ignore it.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to keep digging into the dark corners of the digital world with me. Leave a comment with what you think is hiding behind the static. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and whatever you do, don't adjust your screen.